It's week 2 of college football. The Buckeyes remain number 1, and they are preparing to face the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, coming off of the heels of their big win versus the Virginia Tech Hokies. We're talking about it right here. Welcome to National Minute. I'm Evan Szymkowicz. I'm joined today by Eric Seger, who covers the Buckeyes for 11warriors.com. Eric, I called it the most talked about question in college football on Saturday, and it ended up being Cardale Jones starting, to me and probably a lot of other people's surprise.
Same here.
You were there, assessed his performance, especially in that second quarter when the Buckeyes were held off the board. What did you see, and what did you like?
Well, I think that the first thing you got to look at is they won the game, and they won the game big, and he was a big reason why. I think that his stat line was a little to be desired. He was only 9 of 18 passing for like 186 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns, and he had his interception. So we'll start with the bad. The bad was the interception. He forced the pass rolling to his left, which is his weak side because he's a right-handed quarterback, and Nick Vannett, who I think he was trying to hit the ball to, wasn't really that open. So it was kind of a forced pass, but that's going to come in time. I mean, the thing that really gets me about Cardale that people kind of forget, and I do sometimes as well, is that was only his 4th start. And he has not started a game at home yet. Like, the only game, quote unquote, that he started is a spring game, and that doesn't really count. So I think that he still has room to grow. And I think that because Ohio State wanted to make sure they had a big bruising running back there, in a sense that Virginia Tech with their bear defense was going to take away Ezekiel Elliott running the ball, that Cardale Jones was a better decision for Urban Meyer because he's a big guy, you still have to bring him down. And no offense to JT Barrett, he's a great quarterback in his own right. When Cardale is tackled, sometimes he can turn a 4-yard gain into an 8-yard gain just because of his size.
We're gonna get to the decision to go with Jones in a moment, but I want to ask you what you think about the lack of action from Michael Thomas. You know, head coach Urban Meyer said that it was just sort of the flow of the game that prevented them from getting the ball to him. But did you see anything there?
Yeah, I actually tweeted one time in the third quarter, like, where's Michael Thomas tonight? Because the first drive he had that like 20-yard catch from Jones on 3rd down, which was he ran a great route and made a great catch to get a first down. But I think that it was a little bit of the ebb and flow in the game. I don't know if it was Kendall Fuller, like Virginia Tech's cornerback, taking away Thomas, but Thomas had the touchdown late, which the game was already decided from Barrett, and he ran that beautiful route against Fuller. So I think that that's not really anything that needs to be concerned, but it was just kind of the way the game was going.
And he was interfered with twice.
He was.
So,
yes.
You know, that very easily could have been a great stat line.
Exactly.
But back to Jones. Urban Meyer called it after the game. It was his game, his job to lose.
Right.
He was the starter from the end of the national championship till now. But Jones said that he doesn't know if he's going to start Saturday, and he said that he thinks the competition is still ongoing. And I'm sure a lot of that is out of respect to Barrett. But can you help me make sense of this?
Yeah, I think that there is a lot of truth to that, and a little bit kind of goes in the game plan, which I mentioned before. But I mean, if both those guys at Ohio State Media Day a couple weeks before the season said that they didn't want to play a platoon system. They didn't want to have to share snaps or anything like that. So they were trying to win the job, and ultimately it was Cardale. Now, I didn't believe Cardale when he said that he found out like literally seconds before they went on the field, but it is what it is. And I think that the competition is still going to be ongoing, but that might also just be a tactic by Urban Meyer to continue to have those guys pushing each other and getting the best out of them as he can.
When do you think they actually knew?
I think they knew Sunday when they got there. I think that they probably got to the hotel and Urban called them in and said, I'm going to go with Cardale.
Do you think Cardale remains the starter for the rest of the season unless performance dictates that? Or do you think we see a healthy amount of Barrett, even maybe Barrett starting some of the remainder of the non-conference?
I could see them sticking with Cardale for the simple fact that I don't really know. I mean, both those guys are great friends, and they like each other, and they like what each other does a lot. So I think that if Urban would have to pull the string on Jones, his performance would have to dip very, very largely, like you mentioned, and that's the only really thing that I think will lose him the job. But JT's a cool customer, and he'll be fine with whatever. So it's going to be what it's going to be.
JT Barrett named the captain and sitting there on the sideline.
He was the speaking captain, and then he didn't even get to play much. So.
Some people would call that a figurehead.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that Jones rushed for 99 yards.
He did, yeah. I mean, and a touchdown. So, I mean, JT is better, in my opinion, at running the read option. He's got a quicker first step. So maybe if they see something on film leading up to a game where they're going to know that they're going to have success to do that, in order to get first downs, maybe Barrett will start, but Ohio State's schedule until November isn't the most difficult thing. So
that triple read option that they might run is
yeah,
going to give defensive coordinators fits.
Yeah, it definitely is a scary, scary idea to have Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, and Braxton Miller back there all at the same time.
And speaking of those guys, the run game early on was a lot of end-around routes from Jones to Ezekiel Elliott, which to me at least didn't seem to look like it was working very early. And Coach Meyer said that they need to get Elliott, more touches. And I also want to focus on the person everyone was talking about after the game. That's Braxton Miller.
Yeah.
The media is still buzzing about his impressive run, and it seems like he's really settling in nicely to his new role.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, more analysis of Miller and Elliott, and areas to improve because they weren't enamored with Elliott's performance, but they thought it was serviceable.
Yeah, it was more than serviceable, I think. I mean, he had 11 carries for over 120 yards. I mean, that's over 10 yards a carry. Ohio State had over 10 yards per play, and a lot of that was Zeke Elliott. Now, granted, he had the 180-yard run where it was perfectly blocked and he broke a tackle and was just faster than everybody else. So, I think that I agree with you with the whole running to the boundary. That's not really his game, but it's something that they were trying to just exploit because of the way Virginia Tech clogs the middle with their double eagle front with the 46 Bear. So with Braxton Miller, I mean, he really stormed on the scene again, and it was, it had been 20 months since he had played, and I know that I try not to forget him, but the guy won 2 silver footballs for a reason. So I think that with his development as a wide receiver is really going to make him almost the ultimate weapon in college football, because if you watch the tape again, he had a receiving touchdown, but it was against single coverage, and he didn't really run that great of a route. So we'll see. We still have to see how he can go against, with safety help over the top, but he's a great, great athlete.
Let me ask you one question about Miller. He called himself the best athlete in college football over the summer, but the direct snaps for right up the middle didn't seem to be working early.
Yeah.
Is that just not going to work for him?
I don't think so. Mainly because his size kind of prevents him from having success to do that. I mean, someone like Jones, Urban Meyer did that for years with Tim Tebow at Florida, and that's why they were so successful. So I think Jones would be a better option to do that. But Braxton's speed alone should just get him on the edge, which we saw on his touchdown run, because he went back behind the line of scrimmage and then made everybody miss and trotted to the end zone.
How many more 50-yard routes for touchdowns?
Oh man, hopefully a lot, because they're fun to watch.
Oh yeah, and like I said, everybody's buzzing about that, and I knew I was watching it the same as you, and I knew right when I saw it that we were going to be talking about it.
Yeah, it's been on the internet since Monday, so it's going to be one of the plays of the year, I think.
Wow, and it's only week 2.
Right, that's true.
So at the end of the show, we usually try to do something a little more lighthearted. I'm sure you watched just about all of the games from this past week.
Many as I could, yes.
So give me your best, most impressive game of the season, of the week, and your worst stinker, clunker, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I think that it's kind of a little bit of an open question, obviously, and I think that the best might have to go to Northwestern if we want to stay in the Big Ten, because they beat Stanford. It was a really low-scoring game, and frankly, kind of tough to watch sometimes because there was a bunch of punting and only 1 touchdown in the game. But that was a huge win for Pat Fitzgerald's Cats. I mean, Stanford. A lot of people picked them to win the Pac-12 this year, and they were ranked coming in. So I think that was my best performance. Worst would either be Texas against Notre Dame or BYU and Nebraska. I mean, BYU, they lost their quarterback, but Nebraska gave up a Hail Mary on the last play of the game, and Texas, their offense is just atrocious.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on. Well, it's kind of like I said, it's very wide open, and it's
a lot of different angles of how you can look at it.
I'm a pessimist, so I'm going to say worst game is tied, but in my mind, Notre Dame Texas was bad because Texas, there's a lot of hype surrounding them. Notre Dame as well, and it's good for football when those 2 programs are good.
Oh, without a doubt, yes.
And for Texas to just come out flat like that is not a good start, and it can get emotional down in Austin.
And a lot of people are really high on Notre Dame now, and they did look good. And Malik Zaire, I think, is the answer for quarterback at that place. But, I mean, Texas, we just don't know, are they really that bad, or is Notre Dame really that good?
We'll find out. But my tied for that and worst has got to be Penn State.
Yeah.
Kirk Herbstreit.
Forgot about them, yeah.
Kirk Herbstreit, who we know is a little bit of a Big Ten homer, picked Temple to beat them in the upset. Christian Hackenberg sacked 10 times. I believe one of them was off of a complete zone scheme.
Yeah. Two guys rushing,
yeah.
and I think Penn State kept 6 guys in the block, and he still got sacked.
And I remember the commentators at that point were saying it was embarrassing, and
was.
it looked bad. And a lot of people were expecting Penn State, Ohio State to be the matchup
Right.
of 2 undefeated teams.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that Penn State can't run the tables for the rest of their non-conference schedule, but that was...
It was pretty bad, and it's kind of makes you wonder about James Franklin, because he's been there for a while now, and the offensive line has not gotten any better. Yeah. So it's... I mean, he makes you kind of feel bad for Christian Hackenberg, because he's got a big arm and he's a pretty good athlete, and he's just getting his head kicked in every week.
You're exactly right about that, and one real reason to feel bad for him is in the wake of the scandal and the suspensions, he was offered a free release to transfer without having to miss any time.
He stuck around. Yep.
It's tough for him.
It's
got to
tough,
be tough for
sure.
his family. That's it for this week's National Minute. Buckeyes kick off at home against the Rainbow Warriors at 3:30 on Saturday. We'll have complete coverage in print, on TV, and online at thelantern.com. For Eric Seger, I'm Evan Szymkowicz.